In this video, I'll be going over another instructive game. This game is called A Strong Outpost on d5. Well, actually, no, it's called Strong Outpost on queen 5. But because it's the old notation, I'll show you. Because it's the old notation, it's queen 5. But actually, it's d5. The one thing about this book, it is in the old notation, so it's a bit annoying. But anyway, it's a good game, and it's in the Sicilian, and it's all about having a knight on d5. This is an idea in lots of other openings, but especially in the Sicilian, as you will see. So yeah, let's go. So this game is played between two very strong players in 1956 in Moscow. I'm not even going to try and say their names because I will just get it wrong the way I pronounce them. But they're really famous, and I've seen their names a lot in the databases. So the game starts with e4, c5, Sicilian, and a d6 Sicilian. So we're not sure yet what Sicilian it's going to be. Open Sicilian. Now black here has lots of options. There's a6, which is a Najdorf. The most popular, probably the best, but it's quite complicated. Knight c6 is a classical Sicilian. Bishop d7 is also a move. It's quite rare, but I think Magnus has played it a few times, so it can't be bad. It's e6, and there's g6. This is the dragon. And black played g6, so we have a dragon Sicilian. Bishop e3, this is the Yugoslav attack. This is the most popular and probably the best way to play against the dragon. f3, you'll see this move a lot in games where black has put the bishop on g7. Basically, it strengthens the centre, like protects that pawn, so this knight can move without that knight taking it. Stops knight g4, because that would be really annoying because the bishop would have to move, and we want the bishop because we want to put it here. And also f3 prepares like a kingside attack for later, g4 and h4, h5. So yeah, useful move. Queen d2, just preparing to castle, and this idea in mind for later. Knight c6, castles. Now knight takes d4. The main line, and if you play this, you'll see d5 a lot more often. I think it's a bit better, but knight takes d4 is okay as well. Bishop takes, queen a5, king b1. King b1's actually setting up a threat because, let's say black makes a random move. Knight d5 is actually threatening to win a pawn because if queen takes, there's this like intermediate move check, so king would have to move, and rook takes. So white would win a pawn in this line. And if the queen didn't take, well, this is just really passive, and yeah, we can just move our pawn up. So I think black saw this, and instead went e5. This is, the engine says this is the best move, and it's like it's not terrible, but it does kind of block this bishop in, and also this d6 pawn is backwards pawn, and you know it looks quite weak, and it does become a weakness. It's the sort of main theme of the game, I think. Bishop e3, it moves. Bishop e6 is like keeping an eye on this, so if that knight moves, then the queen will be able to take that pawn. But white sees this and just goes a3, stopping any of these ideas. Rook fd8. So in Sicilian Dragon and also the Accelerated Dragon, the main sort of plan black has is to play d5, because after black plays d5, they're a lot freer. They get rid of this weak pawn, and their bishops open up a bit, and usually they're the one with like the central pawn left over, because they at the moment they have two central pawns, and white only has one. But if they that one's weak, so they just like they want to get rid of the weak pawn, if that makes sense. Like if you play the dragon or any dragons, you'll understand why d5 is so important. But yeah, rook fd8, just, you know, wanting to play d5 basically. Now white interrupts this plan with knight b5. Why does this interrupt the plan? Well, if the queen takes and the rook takes back, and if black plays d5 now, knight c7 is really strong. And if they move the rook, they can double the pawns and lose that pawn. Or they could give up the exchange, but that's not that good, really. So the queen they don't want to trade queens, so the queen moves. Now, actually, this is a good sort of stopping point. Think about what you would do as white if you were white here. I'll say one thing. The engine move is knight c7. White didn't play knight c7, so rule that one out. But knight c7's better, but the move white played is also really good, and it's very instructive, and it's quite surprising. Like, I wouldn't have been able to find this, but it makes so much sense, and you'll see why it's such a key move, and it's probably like the main sort of good move of the game, if that makes sense. So yeah, what would you play as white here? But it's not knight c7. So here, white played c4, giving up the pawn because it's only got one protector, but black's attacking it twice. So let's think about this for a second. So if, let's say black doesn't accept the pawn, rook a8, then it's quite easy for white. Knight c3, queen b3, knight d5, very strong knight, so black would have to trade it off. And this is much better for white because this bishop's out of the game. These bishops have more like space and scope, and white's pawn structure's better. Like, this is just, it would be much easier to play as white, and black wouldn't want to be in this position. And also, why would black not take the pawn? Because it's quite a valuable pawn. Like, looks like it's weakening the king a bit, and white's not got any crazy tactics or attacking, ideas after, like, there doesn't seem to be any consequence of taking the pawn at first sight. Like, there's no checkmates come in. So black takes the pawn because why not? Knight comes to c3, attacking the queen. The queen has to move somewhere where it's still protecting the bishop because this bishop's attacking it. So queen b3. Now white trades the light squared bishop, pins the knight, stopping it from running away. The queen comes to e6. Now white gets rid of their bishop and trades it for a knight. Now look, knight d5. This knight is amazing. Look, controls all these squares, 8 squares, like an octopus. And what's more is it's untouchable now, because previously black had a knight and a light squared bishop that were both they were both like looking at the d5 square, but white cleverly traded them all off and gave up a pawn just to have that knight there. So let's go back a second. So white gave up c4, invited and tempted black to take it, traded this bishop, because this bishop is like, it's keeping 9 d5, so traded that and like pinned the knight before it had a chance to run away. Got rid of that, cleared all the d5 controllers, and now that knight controls d5, and there's no getting rid of it now, and it's just so powerful, such a powerful piece. And also it's like blocking d6 as well, so that will always remain a weak pawn for as long as that knight's there. The game is not over yet. So black's queen hasn't got many squares, but goes to h4 to probably, because now the action will probably be on black's king side now, because the pawns will storm up. So the queen comes here to sort of maybe try and defend the black's king side. Now white's plan here is to transfer the queen to this side of the board and storm the pawns up and probably double the rooks and try and checkmate black. That's the plan. But white still has to be careful because they are a pawn down. So if they end up trading pieces by accident, then they'll probably lose because they're actually a pawn down. And, they still have to be careful. So white goes queen e2, black goes bishop f8, and now it's a really important move. White goes queen f1. When I first saw this, I was like, what? And then I realised why. But the reason why white went queen f1, which feels a bit weird, is because if they immediately went for the kingside attack with g3, with the idea to push, then black actually can go queen h3, and white's game is a lot harder now because this queen is blockading this, and so that pawn can't move. And let's say white tries to trade queens. Well, this is equal, and because black's lost their like firepower, which was the queen, and white is also a pawn down, so I think this is probably a draw. So white very cleverly went queen f1 first, so after g3 this square would be protected by the queen. Rook ac8, trying to bring their rook into action. g3, which is fine now because the queen can't go there. h4, kicking away the queen again. g4. This must have been really fun to play as white. The pawn's just rolling up and it probably felt really nice. g5. Rook h5, just kicking her about a bit, throwing her around. And this is a nice move. g5. The queen cannot take the rook because the knight will go there, check. So the queen moves. No, it doesn't. h6. If the queen moved there, then knight f6 would have been really strong. So the queen doesn't move. h6. This just looks lost already. So after rook takes, queen takes, g5, rook h5, with that idea again. I think, yeah, after rook h5, black just resigned. Black had had enough of the tricks and stuff, because this is just losing. Let's say the queen goes here. Queen h1's really strong. Bishop g7. Here, probably, yeah, knight e7 after king, yeah, just dominating. So after rook h5, black resigned. What an amazing game, because white literally sacked a pawn out of nowhere just to get a strong knight on d5. And if that doesn't teach you I'll try and find the position. If this doesn't teach you the importance of having a strong knight on d5 in these situations, or like just the concept of giving up a pawn for having a strong piece, then I don't know what does. It's just, yeah, really instructive. I hope you enjoyed that game. I hope I explained it well. Even if I didn't explain it well, the position on the board right now speaks for itself. That knight is literally a monster. White gave up a pawn for that knight, and it makes so much sense why he gave up the pawn now. I will continue to post videos about games from this book, the one my brother got me, Most Instructive Games of Chess Ever Played. I will post one soon, I think, and a big thank you for watching the video as well. No, really, thank you. Thank you to the 20 people that watch my videos. Much appreciated. But yeah, nothing else to say really. But yeah, I'll post another one soon.